So before the video gets properly started, I just need to say a few things. So it's been a day since I uploaded the episode 1 reaction, and it's been plenty of days since I recorded this episode 2 reaction. And I just wanted to thank you guys for the support, the feedback, the comments. It seems like a lot of people are enjoying the reactions, or the one reaction I've done. When I did this, it was just a sort of spur-of-the-moment little side detour. I wanted to do it to sort of branch out a little and have fun, but it was primarily for me. I thought maybe a couple of people would be interested, maybe there'd be a couple of comments, but I didn't think that people would be genuinely interested, that a lot of people would enjoy watching it. So I'm really glad that a lot of you enjoyed watching it, and as of right now, which is a day after I uploaded it, there are far more people that watched it than I expected. So again, thank you very much. I'd like to wring as much enjoyment as I can out of this little side detour for content creation that I'm going on through Arcane reactions. And so if you'd like to be a part of that, please don't hesitate to share your thoughts about my reaction, about the show, anything to do with the episode, how much you enjoyed it, the characters, the themes, the plot, the setting, anything. Please don't hesitate to comment and share any of that. I'd really love that. That would contribute to my enjoyment of this little adventure quite a bit. So, yeah, feel free if you'd like to. But if you don't want to do that, then that's obviously cool too, and thanks very much for just watching with me. Now, the second thing to talk about is about Patreon perks. Now, when I started doing these episodes, I didn't think about Patreon perks at all. It wasn't something that was on my mind. I didn't think there'd be any demand for that. But since the first episode was released, and since I was starting to record it, people have reached out to me in comments or DMs or whatever, just telling me that they'd like early access or full length or things like that. So what I've done is I've set up under the $5 tier for my Patreon, there is early access for the next episode. So right now, this is the episode 2 video. Episode 3 is currently available right now if you're a $5 patron on Patreon. Just a little perk for anyone who's interested. No obligation, obviously. And then full-length reactions are available under the $10 tier. They'll release along with the early access for $10 patrons. However, the only thing about that is that, unfortunately, I didn't think of properly recording the full-length recording for people to watch alongside until episode 6. So the first 5 episodes, I don't have it. I'm sorry about that. I just didn't think of it. I'm a reaction newbie. I didn't know anyone would even want that. So sorry about that. But from episode 6 on, so 6, 7, 8, 9, I'll be uploading the full-length reactions, which I've started doing for episodes 6 and 7. Up till this point, I've recorded the first 7 episodes. Now, in terms of the schedule, at the very least, I'll be uploading an episode every week, but I want to build up a little bit of a backlog and then be able to release them maybe twice a week, maybe one episode every 3 or 4 days, if I can. But if not, then at the very least, it'll be one episode a week. It's a bit fluid. Depends on how quickly I can edit these, and it's the holiday season, so I've got some other obligations, and I don't have a ton of time to spend on editing, but I'll do my best. If I can't finish it within the month of December, let's say, definitely January. Like I said, one video a week, absolute minimum. But yeah, I think that's all the housekeeping I wanted to talk about. Hopefully that answers any questions. I know some of you did have questions, and hopefully that answers them. If there's anything else you want to ask me about, then you can comment or reach out to me privately. Up to you. Anyways, hope you enjoy this reaction. Share your thoughts if you'd like. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hello, welcome back to my reaction series of Arcane. Thank you for joining me again in this little content creation detour I've got going on. And it's a little bit later in the day, actually quite a lot later in the night compared to when I watched the first episode, but I enjoyed it so much that I want to just hop right into the second, and yeah, I'm ready for it. I thought the first episode was really good, laid a lot of foundations, established the setting really well, with a lot of subtle little touches here and there. It established the cast really well. I like quite a few of them already, and I'm interested in seeing where the plot is going. Right at the end, it laid a little bit of an ominous tone with our antagonist and whatever poison, mutation, serum it is that they're hinting at here. So I'm interested in what the purpose of that is and what role that'll play. And yeah, just it was a lot of fun. It was a great premiere. So ready for more. Ready to jump right in. Let's do it.
You really went to the undercity to get these? Weren't you afraid?
A little dangerous work.
Weren't you afraid?
Hello?
Oh, that's really cool. So we're seeing it from the other side of the door, the other perspective. Yeah. So it's looking like Jayce is going to be another important point of view character, which is cool to have perspectives from both the undercity and the topsiders. Cold hands? I'm sorry. Game of Thrones reference. So teleportation. Or... yeah, looks like teleportation. Cool. I'm down for another point of view character.
Let's go over it again.
You have to believe me, I didn't
Grayson,
do this.
the insider.
We know it was a break-in, but that doesn't explain this. There's a lot of restricted items here, and I don't see any permits.
What happened here? Science, I guess?
Last time I checked, science didn't require illegal equipment.
Who are you anyway?
I'm assistant to the dean of the academy.
So lots of red tape when it comes to
You.
What?
research.
How am I dangerous?
You can already tell what that childhood experience, what effect that had on him. And she did tell Vander that someone had to speak for this. Someone had to end up in chains. Who better? Oh, I've seen this character before.
I do love a good conundrum. I remember the first time I saw you at the academy. You reminded me of myself. But sometimes we venture too far. No great science should ever put lives in danger.
Professor Heimerdinger, I believe I've discovered
Heimerdinger.
something truly incredible. A way to harness magic through science.
Magic?
Yes.
No.
No?
The arcane is dangerous, Jayce. A force of nature.
The arcane.
Science cannot control it. All my life I've pursued the mysteries of science, only to discover some are better left unsolved.
This kind of explains the red tape,
The council. Admit your work was dangerous.
if I'm
But
understanding
speak
correctly.
nothing of magic. How
So
do you
arcane
say?
is the magic
Slap on the wrist.
in this world. Already a pretty interesting political situation introduced there.
Vander said to lay low. Enforcers never come down here, so this is as good a place as any.
This show is so stylish, I love it. She's a good shot! This is supposed to be the safe place, huh?
Top side of business ain't my concern.
You should see this.
Search them.
Go ahead, idiots. Got nothing.
Yeah. She doesn't have nothing. They are not doing a great job of laying low. Ooh, I love the zoom in.
Over here! You need to hide those crystals. Yeah, no shit.
Steady is stagnant, Allura.
They wished me to remind you that it's thanks to their innovations that you are the richest person in Piltover.
Yet I remain the poorest Medarda.
Medarda.
We need something revolutionary, Allura. Something to put Piltover on the map. What of today's trial?
His name is Jayce of House Talus.
A house? This one.
That's a child's toy.
Good.
The boy's gone. It's why we supported him in the first place.
Ambition? Darling, he nearly blew up our daughter.
Jayce had nothing to do with that. He was robbed.
I like the pans to
Caitlin's right.
each
We've
of them
known
on a
Jayce for
painting.
years.
We should hit them back. We've got the numbers to beat them.
Very dramatic.
You sure that's what you want?
Do it!
We crossed that bridge once before. We all know how that ended.
You're just protecting your kids.
This will blow over. We just need to stand together.
Naturally, a conflict like this was going to spring up between the residents of
Do I look afraid?
Undercity.
No. You look weak.
This sort of thing's inevitable. The people who have been living in the shadows this long...
Spill it, Echo.
Echo. I gotta remember his name isn't Little Man.
Vander's gotta deal with the enforcers.
What deal?
So this'll be the trial, and this is the council.
For your birthday, Counselor.
Oh, Mel, this is too kind.
I'm told
That's what
it
she was
only
shopping
the
for.
sharpest of minds.
Don't you know I'm allergic? What are you trying to do?
That's
kill
hilarious.
an old man?
That's why she said it was perfect that it was a child's toy. It's the illusion of sophistication. It's an interesting character already, the woman.
Jayce Tallis. You are accused of illegal experimentation and endangering the citizens of Piltover.
I ask the Council's forgiveness, and I hope that I can continue my studies.
So you're saying your study was meaningless?
It was revolutionary.
Revolutionary how? All I see is a boy meddling with things he doesn't understand. Perhaps we should just finish
I was
this.
trying to create magic.
Wasn't supposed to say that.
Arcane talents are something you're born with. They can't be fabricated.
Actually, I believe it is possible.
Hmm.
We're the champions of discovery. Why fear it when we can master it?
Jayce, enough.
This is already really interesting.
Think of the wonders we could create. Let me prove.
Enough!
The
You
double-edged...
don't understand what's at stake. That's a burden that only I here carry.
Wow.
Time. I've seen this power in the wrong hands.
It's beautiful.
That cannot happen here, my boy. It must not.
Please let me speak. But as a mother, I have a voice that matters deeply.
That's cool. She has the things on her
in his
finger
right mind.
because of the frostbite.
His entire life, he's chased an impossible dream. Please, let him come home.
I move that Jayce be summarily expelled from the academy and remanded to the care of his parents.
Might as well
All
have
those
killed
in
him.
favor? You
This
may
is
take
so
your son
great.
home,
This
Mrs. Tallis.
the way they're
He is
humanizing
never to
and
set foot on academy grounds again.
adding layers and detail to the topsiders.
You see, that's your weakness, Marcus. You carry your chin so high, you fail to see the opportunity below.
Who are you?
That's a great line. I liked episode 1, but already just halfway through this one, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit more.
Jayce, please.
Father?
If I hadn't spoken, you'd be lost to me.
Magic saved your life.
Yes, but it won't save yours now.
You can't blame her
You
for
need to let it go.
anything she did.
If my own family won't help me, I'll find someone who will.
That's tough. What else is a mother gonna do?
Yeah, I must admit, his theory intrigues.
If
Victor.
dangerous ideas didn't excite the imagination, we would never wander astray.
Could it work? Could these stones really invoke magic?
Magic is far too dangerous in the wrong hands.
Beautiful, aren't they?
The volunteer.
Yet, up there, on the surface, no one even knows they exist. There's a monster inside all of us.
Oh shit. So what is the goal with this serum?
No, it'll kill me.
Real power doesn't come to those who were born strongest, or fastest, or smartest. It comes to those who will do anything to achieve it.
Oh shit. It's spreading like mold. It's not just a consumable liquid. It's got some sort of fungal effects? I don't know.
They won't see you. Your name's no good now.
So why are you out here?
I'm a misfit too, I suppose. What will you do?
That's cute.
Come inside, Caitlin. Now.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to explain.
I think you've done enough.
That's reality in the aristocracy.
The culprits must be apprehended.
We're doing our best, Counselor. Don't you think we've pushed them hard enough?
Do whatever it takes. Turn the undercity upside down if you have to. Just
not working.
fight them.
He's in a tough spot, Vander.
What can I get you?
4 sump rats will do. Search the place.
Signal? Yeah, get the hell out of there, kids. That was quick.
I ran into an old friend of yours. He had some stories. You weren't always the peacekeeper, were you?
You can't escape the past, right?
It's harkening back to the first scene of episode 1.
Them on again. Cast irons. Well, it's hard to clean.
Oh, I love the transition. Better luck next time.
You people down here are all the same. Mistaking arrogance for bravery. You're just a small man in a little hole the world forgot to bury. And I'm gonna bury the lot of you.
Seems a bit over the top. He's a bit of a young upstart, that enforcer.
You heard him. They won't stop. We need to fight back. And if you won't, I will.
Again, it's that conflict between the people who are in the shadow. Not everyone's going to be okay with just sitting idle. But he can't tell them what he's doing behind the scenes. People wouldn't stand for that.
Why are we here?
You still don't understand.
What I don't understand is how you can work with them. I grew up knowing I'm less than them.
Well, it's out in the open now.
That my place is down there. I want Powder to have more than that, and I'm willing to fight for it.
So was I. I was angry, just like you. I led us across this bridge, thinking things could change. If I hadn't, your parents would still be alive. I know you want to hurt the Topsiders for what they've done to us.
So that's where the regret
Clagger?
and the aversion to conflict is.
Nobody wins in war, Vi.
The Vinland Saga parallels are
What are we gonna do?
very strong. I love how she tilts her head onto his shoulder. She's not okay with this situation. She can't ignore the memories of everyone who's been oppressed.
Am I interrupting?
The hell's your problem? What's that? Another list with my name?
Sorry for laughing in this
Yes.
very
But
serious
because
situation,
you
but
signed your notes, a little egotistical, don't you think?
but they
Is that why
juxtapose
you
that with
came?
humor
To insult me?
pretty strongly.
Well, I wanted to talk about your work, this Hextech theory of yours.
I saw with my own eyes what magic can do. The lives it could save. You've no idea how beautiful it is. No one believed me.
Nobody's ever believed in me. Poor cripple from the undercity. We didn't have the benefits of a patron or a name.
Interesting.
I simply believed in myself, which is why I'm here. Because I think you're onto something. I want to help you complete your research.
Hell yeah.
No one thinks it can be done.
When you're going to change the world, don't ask for permission.
Oh, this is great. He was literally going to kill himself. That is... I mean, I said you might as well have killed him when they expelled him,
I
but...
don't even know your name.
It's Victor.
Victor.
You know, Powder, what makes you different makes you strong.
What the hell were you thinking? Going into the last drop.
You heard the council.
You're a fool.
Yeah, this guy's a problem.
What happens now?
Holding on to the symbol of that idealism. That's sweet. What you doing? So, if I'm understanding that right, I think Vi is trying to either take a stand or turn herself in for the burglary. I'm not too sure. Great episode. That was, in my opinion, a bit of a step above the first one. I loved that. That was great. Okay, so 2 episodes down. Episode 2 was, I don't know if you guys could tell from my reaction. Hopefully you could. But I loved that episode. I thought it was great. Episode 1 was a great hook into the world, the dynamics, and seeing sort of the underside, the undercity, and Vi and Powder and Vander and the whole situation they have going on there, and their dynamic with how they feel about the topsiders. I really loved all of that. I loved seeing their little heist, all the foundations that laid. But for me, it was more interesting to see things from the topsiders, primarily through the viewpoint of Jayce, who is someone that naturally any show worth its salt, any story worth its salt, is going to, even in a situation where it has people who are oppressed and looked down upon and spit upon, like the undersiders, who naturally resent the topsiders, any show worth its salt is going to humanize the topsiders, and that's what they're doing through multiple characters, but primarily Jayce, who is, I don't know for sure, but he's, just with one episode, with what they've done with him, he's really interesting to me. I don't know if he's my favorite, but he's pretty close to it, 2 episodes in, early days, but still. I think he's really interesting. I love what they did in the beginning, where you see it's very almost directly metaphorical, seeing the other side of the door, the other side of the coin, the other side of the perspective, in comparison to Violet and Powder and everyone else, and seeing directly on the other side of that perspective through Jayce. And he was walking in with the woman named Caitlin, who seems to be a pretty, compassionate, sweet, kind character from what I can tell, but they didn't show us overly much from her, apart from being a friend with Jayce. But aside from that, so yeah, this is essentially Jayce's episode. And through his eyes, we see a lot of the nuances, the political dynamics that are involved with those who run things in, at least from the... No, I think those must be the people who run everything. The government structure of sorts, top of the totem pole. And we explore them primarily through what Jayce experiences in this episode. So, yeah, so we can start from the beginning. So, Jayce, when he was a little boy, he was in the midst of this huge snowstorm with his mother, who was, seemed like both of them were on the brink of, maybe not the brink of death, but they were struggling. She had frostbite. She had problems with her circulation on her hands. And then, out of nowhere, they were saved and teleported to a much more temperate climate where they were obviously able to get help and then survive from there. And they got help from this, I called him Cold Hands. If you've read A Song of Ice and Fire or played Game of Thrones, you know where that's coming from. But from this mage, I guess, who just teleported them and then gave Jayce this stone that he now carries with him all the time. And so you can immediately see how much of an impact that had on him, just because he was grateful to the man, but also because we see that now in the present, he's conducting all these experiments with magic. How can you harness magic for productive means? That early experience in his life naturally had such an impact on him that he seems to have carried it forward, and now it's essentially the reason he's living, to share this wonder with the world, because he saw how much it helped him and therefore sees how much it must be able to help society as a whole. So immediately, through a little bit of subtext, a backstory, and then we see what he's doing now, we know everything he's about in terms of endeavors and motivations. However, we also see that things are not as simple as he would like them to be. So, like I said, there's a ton of red tape that stops him from being able to conduct all the research that he wants. And immediately we're confronted with this theme of discovery, of the double-edged nature of discovery. You know, on one hand, there's wonder and there's progression, and there's this... You just see the positives of it. You see these childish, idealistic wonders and how all the good it can do for society. And that's what Jayce sees. But then you also see that because of all these things that people need to maneuver around through the political, whatever they've established, whatever rules there are in terms of regulations, because of that, you see that you're not just allowed to go gung-ho, and understandably so, because when it comes to that sort of thing, people can be very dangerous. So, on one side we have Jayce, eyes forward, tunnel vision on the nature of the wonders of discovery and progression, and on the other hand we have caution, primarily represented through Heimerdinger, who right away establishes that he's over 300 years old, 309, I think it was, something like that. He's experienced a hell of a lot. He's seen the destruction that this sort of magic can cause, and as a result, he wants to stifle that. He doesn't want that to become a factor in this society because he's seen the destruction it can bring. So you can understand his perspective. We don't have as personal a perspective with him as we do with Jayce, but just being told what he's been through and what he's seen through his experience, I think that tells a story of its own. And so the dynamic there is really interesting to me, because Heimerdinger is clearly on this council. He's in a seat of power, so he has supreme influence on how things are run, and that's why people like Jayce can't just recklessly do these experiments whenever they want to. It was a great way to establish why the world is the way it is right now. I don't know exactly how Heimerdinger came into power. He did say that he was a scientist himself. Maybe that gained him repute and status. But regardless, in half an episode or something like that, they established exactly what the power dynamics are and the societal outlook towards these sort of experiments is. And I thought that was really interesting. I ate all of that up. I loved all of that. And so they do the trial. And before the trial, we're introduced to a couple of things. Firstly, we have Caitlyn's family, who I think the mother was on the council, and her father seems to be someone of nobility as well, which I guess that would come hand in hand with the mother being in a position of power. Anyway, so they are benefactors of Jayce, probably because they were childhood friends, Caitlyn and Jayce. So that's just a side note. And then also, more interestingly, is this woman, Medarda. Medarda was her name. And she's really interesting because she is on the council, but she clearly states that she is sort of bottom of the rung when it comes to her family. So she's trying to make some sort of name for herself. Or something like that. So she has that ambition. And at the same time, she seems very acutely aware of the foolishness of some of the posturing and societal niceties and all of the things you need to do to maintain a position of power at the very top. Because we see through her action of purchasing that child's toy to gift to one of the other counselors, and her statement that this is great, it's a child's toy, perfect. That she just thinks it's all a big joke. And I get this idea of, I don't know, I'm probably reaching with this, but through that action, I get this idea of power being, that sort of Game of Thrones-ish idea of power being an illusion, or value being an illusion. It's what you attribute to it more so than what it actually is. I don't know if that's going to end up being a prevalent theme, but that's what I got from that really interesting interaction between her gifting that other thing to the other counselor. Just stuck out in my mind a little bit. And so they go through with a trial, which Heimerdinger advised Jayce to not bring up the magic, and he'd get away with just a small punishment. But of course, Jayce has to say it. He's far too passionate about this. This is his life's work, his short 24-year-old life's work, but even still, it's his life's work. So he was always going to say something. And naturally, they're hesitant. He seems a little bit reckless, and he's a little bit unhinged in the way he's talking about it. So from their perspective, they probably didn't put much credence into the things he said. And his mother naturally saw this as well, which is why she came forth and pleaded for mercy for her son, which is a very motherly thing to do. She said that he has lost his mind, that he's not in his right mind, and so to please let him get off scot-free in terms of his life and let him live with his parents, his family. And so they go ahead with that. But like I said during the reaction, for someone as driven as Jayce was, expelling him and not allowing him to continue his research is as good as killing him. Maybe that's a bit dramatic of a thing to say, but it turns out it wasn't, because very soon after that, he goes around, he walks around town, he's very moody and pensive and brooding, and then he decides that he wants to kill himself at the site where he did all this research and lost all this research, and is a bit in the process of losing everything. In his eyes, he is this work. It's that important to him, and you understand why, given his backstory. And so this is very powerfully communicated. He was literally about to take his life. And I feel bad because during the reaction, I laughed 10 seconds after he was doing that, because they did a little humorous moment. But I think that was an intentional juxtaposition, because there was humor in that interaction. And so Victor, someone who seems to be a kindred spirit to Jayce, an inquisitive mind as well. Someone who, as he said, grew up in the undercity as a cripple and worked his way up to topside, and worked his way into his status of repute, into a position of semi-power, it seems like. He seems to be somewhat influential. And the most important thing he says was that he believed in himself. And that was very poignant to me, because that's something Jayce needed to hear, I feel like. Jayce needed to believe in himself a little bit more to navigate this red tape. But he also, belief isn't enough. In this situation, he needed an in to continue his research, because he had put all his life into this, and Victor offers that in. He says, I want to help you. And so that team, Victor interests me a lot. I think Jayce is a fascinating character already, a great representation of this wide-eyed wonder in terms of discovery. And so I really like this partnership already. I can't wait to see what they're going to do in terms of the research. And now, something that Victor said about believing in himself. He wasn't able to shoot his way up in society because of means, or his birthright, or wealth, or power, or anything. He just did it because he believed in himself. And so that, it might be a bit of a stretch, but that sort of harkens to something that our antagonist says. I don't know if we've had his name said. If it has been said, then I've forgotten it. I missed it or something like that. But our antagonist with the interesting eye, he was talking to the thug, and he was saying that power can be achieved. Actually, I think I need to look it up just to double check. Okay, so what this antagonist says to this thug is that power doesn't come to those who are fastest, strongest, smartest, etc., it comes to those who will do anything to achieve it. And so I see a pretty clear parallel with that line and what Victor said about power being, or about him having risen up so high simply because he believed in himself. Because of that belief, he was willing to trust in himself and do whatever he could to work his way up there. Now, the dark flip side of that, the dark contrast, the underside to that, is this man saying power comes to those who will do anything to achieve it. And so I think there's a dualism to that. Just like there's a dualism to discovery through Heimerdinger and Jayce, there's a dualism to achieving what you want. I see a theme there. To achieve what you want, you need to stop at nothing to do it. And that results from a belief in yourself for both bad people and good people. And I say that in quotes because I can already see there's enough nuance in this story that it's not going to be as simple as good and bad. But for simplicity's sake, you get my meaning. So there's a light and a dark side to that sort of, that theme of belief in oneself. And I think that's interesting. And so I think I'm done mostly with what we've got to say about the topsiders for this episode. It was really, really well executed. But so now transitioning to this antagonist again, something else he said is when talking about the sea creatures that they see through this layer of theirs, or whatever you would call it, he refers to the sea creatures and he says they're so interesting. They're these amazing creatures, but no one above really even knows they exist. And that struck me. Pretty bluntly metaphorical of the trials and tribulations of the people in the undercity. And I think this more or less confirms there were already things that made this pretty clear, but I think this hammers home the idea that he is 100% working from the underside. Again, he's a different faction from Vandover. I think it's pretty clear. Vander, excuse me. It's pretty clear, just as there was that conflict. Actually, I'll leave that for now. But just as there are these different factions in the undercity, and how they view the way forward differs from person to person and ideology to ideology, the same is true with this man. And so the voice acting is so good. I think his voice is amazing. So kudos to whoever the voice actor is for him. And I think he's really interesting. He's clearly got some damage. He clearly harbors resentment and festers some sort of desire to get back at the topsiders because of their ignorance and the way they've probably oppressed him and maybe in the past hurt him in some way. So I think all that's a great hook for this character. I mentioned that Jayce is near the top of my list for characters I'm interested in and that I like. This man is right up there as well. He's got a really menacing aura, a great presence, and lots of little things that hook me, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do later on down the line. So he takes this serum, and the one that was used on the mouse that turned it into this super mutant mouse that killed the cat. And he injects it into this thug who pretty promptly transforms and grasps the power after some manipulation. But that's it. Your normal life is done, dude. So hope you're happy with it. And yeah, kind of like the last episode hinted at, he is going to be this super powered mutant thing. I don't think that's good for our protagonists. That doesn't bode well. And something interesting I noticed about the serum, the purple serum, is that it's not just a liquid you inject. It seems to have some biological, morphic, fungal properties. It's growing throughout their little layer. It's sort of branching out in these roots. It's spreading. I think it's in the building where he met with the Enforcer as well. So, I don't know. It's far from just something to ingest. It seems quite a bit more potent, and I feel like the way it branches out and, infects its surroundings could be metaphorical of something. And so now, staying with the Undercity, we get there's less focus on our protagonists from episode 1, Violet, Powder, Milo, and Claggor, and Vander. But there is still focus. We see what they're up to. Oh, and Little Man, Echo, as well. So we see what they're up to. They're trying to lay low. They're trying to allow this whole thing to blow over with help from Vander. And it's not very easy. And because of this brewing conflict, things are fragmenting from within the group that Vander is trying so hard to maintain peace with in terms of conflict with the Topsiders. So we have factions that break off. There was that woman who told Vander that he didn't look scared, he looked weak for not wanting to stand up and fight back and revolt against these Topsiders. And so, yeah, things are not looking... It's a very difficult situation for Vander. He can't tell people why he wants to maintain this status quo. He's clearly gone under the table and established this sort of agreement for his safety, for the safety of his loved ones and the people he cares about, and the Undercity as a whole. He seems to be the chief of this place. People go to him for leadership and guidance. But he obviously can't tell them that he's doing a deal with them because there's clearly this deeply rooted resentment to anything Topsiders. So any word of him working with them is naturally going to cause a lot of anger. People are not going to be happy about that, and it's going to be a messier situation than it is now, probably. And he knows that, and so that's why he can't say anything. It's hard to have bigger picture thinking in this, and Vander is no doubt the one who I think is the wisest in this situation, but I don't think that anyone who disagrees with him is necessarily wrong for thinking that way. You know, these people have been oppressed in all sorts of ways, clearly. I don't think Violet is wrong for wanting to do something, but she's immature. She doesn't see the repercussions of her actions, as illustrated by the mission in episode 1. And same with other people, these people who defect. So yeah, there's trouble brewing in the Undercity's political situation. So the kids are being chased around. There's more progression for showing us a bit of Violet and Powder's relationship, and it's all very sweet, very cute. I really like it a lot. And we have the Enforcers continuing to try to find the culprits behind the break-in. The Enforcer that's doing these under-the-table deals with Vander said someone has to take the fall for this, and it ended up being Jayce. But that doesn't mean that they've stopped looking. As we saw in the scene with the Council and the Enforcers, they said, stop at nothing, find who did this. No matter what the woman tried to say to sort of get them to hold off, you can see her deal with Vander in the back of her mind there. So regardless of that, they want these people caught. So they're relentless. They're going to continue. And so Vander has to continue to protect them. And it leads to Vander having to have a very difficult talk with Violet because she knows that he is working with them. As a result of Echo hearing this when he spied on their conversation. So she knows. And naturally, she has trouble in understanding that. She's just a kid. I'm not sure exactly how old she is, but I imagine 16, something like that, 15, 16. So yeah, she has lots of trouble trying to come to grips with that. She despises living in the shadows. And in a transitional scene, we once again see a shot of the bunny, or the rabbit toy, that she was talking to Powder about in episode 1. The one that I said I think is representative of her hope for a better future, a better world, and her willingness to go out and grab that, and how the symbolism of it being out of her reach and her not being able to grab it represents how out of reach it seems that this ideal world is. So we see that again, just as a reminder of what her mindset is, and why she is so against Vander doing these things. But Vander takes her to the site of her parents' death, which is now confirmed. The woman we saw in the beginning was her mother. That was pretty clear, but confirmation here. So he takes her to the site of that tragedy. He talks about how he was very upset at first himself. He felt the way she felt. And that harkens back to what the Enforcer said to him about how he used to be much less of a peaceful man, less of a peacekeeper. He clearly used to fight back against those who oppressed them. But now he's filled with regret about that. Him fighting back, the regrets he has associated with that, has to do with this conflict at the beginning. Has to do with her parents' death. And that's why he probably raised them out of guilt. And so he's just filled with regret at all these things. He wishes he could take it back. And that's why he is so anti-violence with these people. He knows nothing good can come of it. And so he communicates that to Violet, and she seems to understand. I got the vibes that she did understand that. She leans her head over on his shoulder, which I think is a very touching, little lovely, subtle gesture. And she seems to understand. But then we get a scene where I got a little bit confused because Powder was carrying a bunny. It looks a lot like that bunny that I was just talking about. I'm not sure if it actually is that. And she's got it, gave it to Powder, and is going off somewhere. Or I don't remember if that's a toy that Powder already had. I'm not sure. So sorry, I'm a bit confused about that. I'm not sure where the bunny came from. So I'm just noticing this in editing, but I think it's very much worth mentioning. I was very confused in this reaction about what was going on with the bunny toy. What I think happened is there's a shot, maybe in between the Violet scenes, where there's a shot of the bunny toy on the wires, just like that shot we get in episode 1, minus the two girls in the background. So there's a shot of that, and then next we see Violet. She's giving the toy to Powder. So what I think happened is she just took it off somehow. That toy resembles it very strongly, so I'm just assuming it's the same toy. So I think she just took it off somehow, and gave it to Powder. What I imagine that to symbolize would be she had given up by taking that representation of childish idealism of having a worthwhile and fun and fulfilling life. By taking it and giving it to Powder, I see that as symbolic of the idea of her sort of bypassing and dismissing the idea of her getting that life, and instead giving it to her sister through the sacrifice she was about to make, which was turning herself in. That's what I think is going on there. And I only realized that in editing. I didn't realize that during the reaction, so I just figured I'd put that in here. So yeah, I don't think anyone in the existence of anything ever has thought about this bunny toy as much as me, but hopefully you enjoyed it a little bit. Back to the reaction. But either way, Vander saw it, and it reminded him of Violet, and it made him see that something was up. Powder seemed to see that something was up as well. And so we see that Violet is waiting for what looks like enforcers in some rundown building. I don't know. That's one of two things, I think. Either she's going to turn herself in and protect the people that way, I think that would make sense because she had just heard from Vander all of his regrets about fighting back and violence and how war is not the answer to anything. And so she sees that what she did in that heist, that little burglary, is causing what he tries to avoid. It's causing lots of problems for him. It's causing problems for the people she looks after, Milo, Clagger, and Powder. And so maybe she's looking at all of that, and maybe she's thinking, I need to take responsibility for this. And so maybe that's why she is perhaps turning herself in here, to take the fall herself. Although I don't think it would be that simple. They know that there were 4 people. It probably wouldn't be done after that. So I think that's her thinking. I also don't think it would be that simple. Alternatively, maybe she's taking a stand and just said screw it to Vander's advice and just decided, you know what, violence is the answer. I got to fight back or something like that. I don't think so. She did seem, while she did take in Vander's words and take them to heart, there was still very much a contrast between Vander's, yes, we can't fight anymore stance, and what I saw in her eyes, which seemed, okay, I see your point, but can I really buy into this? I don't think she's completely bought into it. So I think there's still hesitation there. I think she's still conflicted. So I don't think it would be entirely out of character for her to fight back, take a stand here, But judging the trajectory of this episode, I think it's the less likely option. We'll see later. We'll see in the next episode what she actually is doing here. And I can't wait for that. I think that takes me to the end of this discussion. So episode 2, wonderful. I thought it was really good. So episode 1 I thought was fun, great hook to the series. It was good. This took things a step up with the richness in the societal world building, the interpolitical situation at the top of the hierarchy when it comes to the topsiders. Jayce, who is a fascinating character and now introduced. We have his new partner, Victor. We have increased characterization for the antagonist, and again, I'm wondering what he's going to do with that serum and these mutants he's creating. He said something about a monster within them and how you need to use power to take what you want. So they're going to have some sort of purpose in that regard. And a bit more work about Vander's background, which is very interesting. Some more little things for Violet and Powder. Oh, and Medarda as well. A really interesting character herself. This episode just expanded the horizons of this show, of the story, filled in a lot of gaps, showed us a different perspective, and now I know that not only are we going to see things from the perspectives of the undersiders, the undercity, the oppressed, we also are seeing things from the perspective of someone who is on the top side, and I love that. And what's great is that they're both as human as one another. Things are not black and white. There are not only good people below, and there are not only bad people above. It's more or less an equal mix above and below. And I love that. I think that could bring forth a lot of interesting and powerful storytelling. So yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say. Please share your thoughts about the episode below, or anything I might have said below. And yeah, thanks again for watching. This show is super promising. I can't wait to see where it goes. Many thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.